I've got a question for you that we saw come up, and I think this will be great as we're on this whole you're the big expert creating products. Do you guys plan for any adoption curves? And I say this. Someone asked a question. You can make the best product ever, but by the time people actually realize it's the best, your company could be out of business. Curious what your opinions are on that kind of, I guess, statement. Obviously, not saying you guys will be out of business, but he's just giving a,
No, it's a fair comment. I think what he's really saying is that, and I preach this a lot to our team, right? Having the best products in sliced bread, whatever it is only about a third of the battle, right? It's only about a third. I kind of look at it as, a third is product, a third is distribution, a third is finance. And there's a lot to unpack in those three categories. To be more succinct, and I think what's important for a question like that is you really have to, I think with specificity, peel the onion on what the commercialization process is. Because we have a ton of things in R&D. Some of them may never see the light of day. His comment sort of states, okay, well, if you had this great product and maybe, had a great bench sample of the product and it was amazing, if your commercialization process or that timeline took 5 years, you may have missed the trend that he could be alluding to, which is a fair comment. But if you had the greatest things in sliced bread and you developed that product, say at the lab level, and you were trying to tackle just a trend today, and you put all your eggs in one basket to tackle that trend, I may accuse you of not being the best business person, right? Because for us, commercializing products takes a long time. And we're not going after trends. We'd like to think that we're setting them. That's the real goal. But again, when we're looking at the aisles and we're doing our, significant due diligence of where we think there's, a lack of technology or product innovation, once we sort of identify that, we really start the preliminary research of kind of saying, okay, well, what would this new mousetrap look like? And how do we get there? And what does the timeline look like? And what kind of testing do we have to get through? What kind of regulatory do we have to get through? And let's engage with buyers early and let's get their thoughts, because they may say, you know what, we have zero interest. It's not going to work. And you got to take that information and or they may say otherwise, say, oh my God, fast track that. It may be amazing. So I think there's a lot you can do to understand what your commercialization path looks like, but sort of taking the gamble and just saying, this is it, let's go. And, being worried that we're going to miss a trend, it's probably something we'd never do.
It's an interesting question. I thought in some cases there was examples. He said like movie streaming. There was tons of companies before Netflix, but Netflix got the best timing and things like that.
Well, again, hold on. I don't think that that's true. If you look at Netflix's history, if you take a look at Netflix's history, they were shipping DVDs to your house for years. Okay, they didn't just wake up and say, "Hey, let's do streaming." They saw streaming because they were in the channel and made early moves and invested heavily in technology. If you remember the early streaming on Netflix, you had to wait a long time before that thing downloaded. So it wasn't like, oh, streaming's big, but they were their first move. This is 15 years of being in a channel that was evolving and having the foresight to push technology to evolve it with it, and having a vision of saying, hey, I think DVDs are going to go away one day and we'll probably get into streaming. Let's invest there. Technology took years to develop, years. So yeah, nothing's as quick as it seems. Nothing is as quick as it seems.
Obviously, massive expert. You built products. You already touched on a ton of the things you guys cover. What are the factors you look at when it comes to making a successful product?
In the context of Starco brands, right? Again, we're looking for that white space. We're looking for the area that, we think vis-a-vis our capability to develop tech and commercialize broadly, whether it be through bricks and mortar or online, that you really have the nuts, that the innovation is really there. And in parallel with developing something that, say, is, again, behavior changing or, really amazing technology, I think in parallel, you've got to really ensure that the demand is there. I can't tell you the amount of innovation that's come out of companies where, you'd look at the innovation and be like, wow, that's really cool. I mean, I don't need it and I don't want it, but it was cool, right? There's a funny saying in, chemical companies and CPG is that, and a lot of our, companies that I've acquired in the past is they say, okay, well, we've got teams of chemists, 20, 30 chemists, teams of chemists, but how come you guys haven't come up with anything new? And the idea is that it's a mistake for companies and for people to think that all the innovation just comes out of the lab. You got to remember that the true goal of having a very capable technical staff in R&D and lab is you're not assembling that team to necessarily kind of rub your hands together and be like, oh, yay, they're all going to come up with tons of innovation. That's not really the point of it. As so the point is that, well, let's harken back to entrepreneurism. The essence of an entrepreneur is to kind of have that creativity and be able to monetize and commercialize, which, if you think about it, sometimes is really both sides of the brain. You've got to have some technical aspect to put something together, and then you got to have some more of an art and business of how you want to commercialize. And yes, there's steps that one can be scholastically trained into to make yourself better at that. But, at its vertice, that's what it really is. And so if you've got an amazing team of technicians from an entrepreneurial standpoint, this happens all the time where I'm going to say, okay, guys, this is it. I want to go down this path to achieve this goal. Now, from a starting formulary vantage point, I think that we can use these raw materials. I think that they can be, blended or reacted in these percentages and in this combination, but I'm not exactly sure where we're going to land. So I need the lab to, give me 150 samples of laddering the product at differing percentages to see the efficacy and the performance. And therein lies this communication utilization of your technical team. And it's at that point in the ball game, once the direction is clear, that they're going to come back and say, you know what, Ross, I think that you wanted to go here and use this and this and this, but I think there's a better way to do it. We're going to use our expertise and we'll go here and here and here.
They're the experts in some cases too, and it's good that you listen to
For
them
sure.
and you give them your
No. It's a must.
insight.
It's a must. Listen, if you, Jason, there's been many a meeting where if I wasn't happy about something and I'm sitting in a boardroom and I'll look around and be like, look, if I'm the smartest guy in the room, we have a real problem, right? I mean, it's all about, and that I say that tongue in cheek. I mean, you got to be real humble about that, is that you have to have the foresight to, really circle yourself with people that are way more intelligent in very specific subjects than you are. Otherwise, you're in trouble.